from around 4:30, let's say 5, things turn. So there are people who've entered Parliament, all right? There are many who entered Parliament. You could see them running around. And then there's a group that entered Parliament and was on a mission to destroy.
They had a purpose.
Right? And they did that. And then you're seeing others who then go and light fires at City Hall.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, so...
What's this about?
But there's not a huge crowd at City Hall that's lighting the fire. So who's this who's lighting those fires at City Hall? Who's this who's entered into the Supreme Court building and KICC? How are they breaching into this? Right? And it goes on. And then looting starts happening in shops. And it goes into now businesses. This is where now this whole thing turns. And what we cannot really argue here is that there was infiltration. There was a hijacking of this. Mm-hmm. It is who is behind the hijacking of it.
That is the
one school of thought says, thugs just took advantage of it and they organized and mobilized. And another school of thought would say, the organizers of this thing wanted it to get into this level. And there's another school of thought that says that those who would like to turn the page on these demonstrations organized for this thing to turn this way.
I still insist that the folks who were protesting were peaceful.
Yep.
They were
the people
peaceful.
We saw last week.
They were peaceful.
And on Monday.
For us to hear what the CS said the day before that, and then for us to see what happened when we had people on roofs, we even have reports of police telling protesters, use this building, move in this direction, because there are snipers on roofs of buildings. Be very careful. So what was the intention? What was the intention? To start shooting people so that you have this situation now of mayhem, so that you can now blame Kenyans who were actually exercising their right? Is that what was happening here? That you would shoot in the air, or that you would shoot intentionally to kill people, so that you then have a position where you can blame people for being in the street in the first place? What was the intention?
How do you explain this? You are on the expressway and there's a slowdown. Cars aren't moving fast enough. Some have actually stopped on the side. And then you see a policeman on the expressway with a gun aiming down. What exactly?
What is that?
And he did not have a telescope.
Yeah, what is that? So what is it?
So what exactly are you seeing?
Wow.
And he was in this full ninja turtle gear. Okay? Aiming. And you could see because the traffic is moving very slowly. And people were taking pictures of this same policeman. Some were taking people actually stopped and were taking pictures.
Yeah.
They took the police person and they took pictures of what was happening down there. Tear gas, you could smell it, you could feel it in your eyes, and you're on the expressway.
Yeah. The thing that happened earlier in the morning of just starting to lob tear gas so early in the morning to people whom you've assured of security, people who have yet to unleash any violence or destruction of property.
Or break any law, really.
Right? Because I'm looking at the Kithure statement. So at 9 a.m., when tear gas was lobbed, which of these had been breached?
Exactly. And this is why I was saying when we were still
which
here,
of these had been breached at 9, at 10?
Who had done anything
11?
at 10? Because now you're starting to aggravate a situation that was still peaceful. Where was any of this breached? Where were any security apparatuses having been countermanded?
So let's go.
Yeah.
Was there engagement in violence or riots at 9, 10, 11 a.m.?
No.
Was there a breach of public peace?
No.
Was there intimidation or harassment of non-protesters? Anything that you heard being reported?
No.
That people were being harassed?
At 9, no.
Was there provocation, attacking or obstructing police or other members of the public at 9, 10, 11?
No.
Provocation?
No.
Was there obstruction of traffic of any kind? Well, there was obstruction of traffic of people on the roads, but were they obstructing the vehicles from passing? We have seen it before. They allow people. They move aside for
pass
people.
and we keep marching.
Yeah.
For the marching, it's like it's on one side and the vehicles can't pass on the other.
Yeah.
So what is it that was making the authorities do what they were doing in the morning? Because that created a whole new mood in this thing.
Because it's as though we went to bed on Tuesday night, on Monday night, with the sentiments that were read out by the CS.
Yep.
And then there was this mood that woke up in the morning knowing that this is what we are going to do. And that's why I'm saying that, this mayhem that we looked at when we saw this unwanted killing that happened, this huge craziness, is as though somebody was already saying, look, we're going to come for you if 1, 2, 3 happens. But the if never took place.
You started by coming.
You started by coming for Kenyans. You started by coming for Kenyans so that you can now say that the if happened and that's why we killed or that's why we injured. And I'm saying no.
But remember, even as we say this, Parliament is a protected area.
It is. It is. But by 9 a.m.
By 9 a.m. there was nobody in Parliament. And by 10 o'clock we had already seen people shot.
Yes.
Yeah. By 10 a.m. people had been shot.
You see, that is ground we've covered. And indeed, it's like our Minister for Interior was being prophetic.
Or did he know?
You see, when you're prophetic, there's something you know that we don't know. Everything that is written there by 10, we had seen none of this. None. Now, let's look at how it is now. The law was again abrogated.
Okay.
When did people start vandalizing? Because breaching Parliament, there you've broken the law. You may not think so, but you have.
Yep.
You've gone against the law.
Yep.
So essentially, you have begun to undermine the very thing you are fighting for. Why would they do this? All this while that we've had protesters, we have not heard of shops being vandalized. We have not heard of people being robbed. Then all of a sudden, in one day, you have a series of things that point to breaking the law in the most blatant way possible.
And they started out that time, 5 p.m., it just goes south.
Yes. So what is it that happened between? Because in the morning, none of this had happened. And then all of a sudden, there are all these activities that go against the law in the most blatant manner possible.
And by the time he stood up to say, ha vijana ni watoto wetu, and I acknowledge and I hear that there's something they're saying, the opportunity was right there. So how do we engage? How do we then move this into a meaningful conversation going forward? How do we make sure that we are hearing what you're saying? How do we make you feel that we understand what you're saying? How do we do that? So it has morphed into something completely different. And like you're saying, City, that whole conversation, and again, I say the conversation is not even about this finance bill. The conversation is about the economic situation of this country. The conversation is about the public finance management of this country. That's the conversation. That is what people are saying. We are unhappy with the way this country is being governed.
We are unhappy.
And we'd like to have a conversation about it.
Yes.
Is this going to happen? Do you see it happening now with a security emergency having been declared?
Is that an atmosphere in which such a conversation can be had? The answer is no.
No.